Good evening, everyone. Right now we 6:06 p.m. Wednesday, June 6, 2021, and I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Yes. Mayor Ta,
Here.
Vice Mayor Nguyen,
Here.
Councilmember Dow,
I'm here.
Councilmember Ho, Councilmember Ho, you're muted. Councilmember Ho is on the screen. Okay, well, Councilmember Ho is here. And then Councilmember Manzo.
I'm here.
Okay, all the council members are present.
All right, thank you. And do we have any public comment, please?
I don't have any in advance, but at this time, if anybody would like to speak on closed session items. Okay, I have.
I see that Councilmember Ho's off mute now. Can you acknowledge that you're there? Can you hear us? Councilmember Ho, can you hear us?
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Now my watch is talking. I don't think she can hear us.
All right, well, let's see if we can get her attention. Well, stand by, we are experiencing technical difficulties.
She says she has no audio. Responded to a text. Told her to log out and back in, see if that helps. Can you hear us now? Can you hear us?
I can hear you now.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. So we're at Aura Communications. So at this point, if anyone would like to speak on closed session items only, I have first speaker is Deborah Mariscal.
Good evening, Mayor, councils, and our attorneys. Thank you so much for letting me have a moment to speak. I actually read the lawsuit of Mr. Levy, and since I have a Hebrew first name and a Spanish last name, this really concerns me. But it is not just this particular lawsuit. We have had multiple lawsuits over the years. As you all know, the police department several officers, our former police chief, some other things as well. I have a question for our city attorney. I am actually an life and health insurance broker, and my major in college was HR. So are we self-insured as a city, or do we have a reinsurer? Do we have a back-end insurer? I am concerned at the lack of HR overseeing some of the things that happen. And I do realize that there are always two sides to every story and then one in the middle. But I am extremely concerned about the lawsuits that the city is having due to, in my opinion, of poor HR management. Now, I do belong to PIRA. I do belong to SHRM, which are two organizations for HR. And because I sell employee benefits for a living, I have a lot of contacts with various HR managers. And if this was a private entity, there would be some heads rolling for this. So if you could answer that question for me, I would really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker is Terry Raines.
Good evening, Terry Raines, Westminster. I have reviewed the original complaint and second amended complaint filed by Mr. Levy against the city and the 80 or so items listed on the court's register of actions for this case. I have also reviewed the city's answer to the second amended complaint and the most recent document, the stipulation and order filed by the city on February 1st of this year. It appears both parties hope to reach a settlement through mediation sometime before the new trial date of February 22nd, 2022. A settlement conference has again been scheduled now for January 21st, 2022. Once again, the city is likely going to end up paying out a significant amount of money to settle this case, plus substantial legal fees. This case was filed over 2 years ago, and I have to wonder why the city is now willing to possibly settle the case. If a potential settlement is warranted now, why wasn't it warranted 2 years ago? Was the city hoping it would go away on its own? How much has that delay cost the taxpayers of the city? This lawsuit, like many others that have either settled or are in courts presently against the city, is a symptom of a much larger problem here in Westminster. The city has failed to act on or take seriously numerous complaints leading to protracted, expensive court actions. While it appears an outside investigator reviewed the facts of this case, in the end, here we are 2 years into yet another expensive lawsuit. The city has repeatedly failed to hire quality human resources leadership and staff. The HR director position has been vacant forever, and for the life of me, I don't know why. I only learned last week that the interim HR director is only working part-time. This is unacceptable. Priority should be given to improving employee relations, addressing complaints immediately, and following generally accepted HR policies and procedures. It is worth noting that our city manager was the department head responsible for all of the employees named in or mentioned in this case. Yet, I have not seen his name mentioned in the few documents I have purchased and reviewed for this case, which begs the question, why not? Was he fully aware of the many related complaints and actions taken prior to this matter ending up in the courts? And if not, why not? And if so, what actions did he, as the department head, take to try and resolve this matter internally? Members of the public, like myself, cannot afford to purchase dozens or hundreds of court documents to fully review cases like this. But we deserve to know what's going on in our city. We deserve to know why these lawsuits keep happening and who should be held accountable. We also realize that sometimes frivolous lawsuits are filed against the city. But from the cases I have personally reviewed, where there is smoke, there is usually some sort of fire. Systemic management issues in the organization must be addressed urgently and completely, and that responsibility ultimately rests with the city manager. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I have no additional speakers.
All right, so we're going to have a closed section.
Yes, so at this time, I will move everyone over to,
Excuse me, is it possible for our city attorney to answer those questions from Devorah Mariscal?
Yes, I can very briefly, in terms of the insurance, the city is part of an insurance pool. So to some degree, we're self-insured up to different amounts depending on type of claim. And then at that point, the insurance pool kicks in as far as coverage is concerned. And right now it's CSAC, which changed its name, I believe, to PRISM. And we work with them. And then George Hills helps us with the administration of claims.
All right, thank you.
And I should address also the HR director. Without going into personnel issues, we have been recruiting for one. We have one that will be joining us soon on a full-time basis.
Right.
And that is definitely a concern that we are very much going to be pursuing by way of tackling those kinds of issues that were raised.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
okay, so at this time, I'm going to put everyone into holding who is not privy to closed session, and then we will lock the meeting. So give me just a few minutes here.